Harbison. Today we're going to continue our discussion on why the phoenix is mythological. Hopefully by now you figured out that the whole phoenix thing is just a metaphor. We're talking about people making life changes. Usually the phoenix types are the big life changes. The most common ones tend to be things like getting married, divorces, changing careers, getting sober, any of the things that are really fundamental changes in the way people define themselves and how the world defines them. And a lot of times these people realize that the world fights against them, that this change is very difficult because everyone around them tends to keep it from happening. Then they also hopefully realize that they themselves limit their ability to change. And the two things feed off of each other. The world plants the seeds in the person's mind, then the person's mind reinforces what the world is saying, and then the world seems to echo it back to them. And it creates a very destructive, very limiting situation. So today we're going to talk about how you protect yourself from yourself when you are going through one of these changes. And this one is harder to do. It's harder to talk about, it's harder to understand. We don't like to admit that we are part of our problem. The first step to the 12th step is to admit that you have a problem. And the reason that that has to be the first step is because a lot of people, as they go through life, just will not admit it. They cannot admit that they are ever part of the problem. And at the same time, a lot of people won't admit that they themselves are the solution. So, the two things go hand in hand. So we've got some points here to go over that will help you help yourself when you're going through one of these changes, okay? The first one is to admit and to recognize the negative thoughts that are in your head. You have to admit and recognize these phobias, the fears, the negativity, the doubts. You have to say, hey, this is in my head. You need to try to figure out where they come from. Why am I this way? Now, sometimes you'll never be able to figure it out. A great example is the fear of public speaking. A lot of people have a fear of public speaking, whether or not they've ever tried to speak publicly. It doesn't matter if they have a public speaking event on their horizon. It's something that they're petrified of. So that's a limiting thought. It's a negative thought. Why are they afraid of it if they've never done it? They're afraid of embarrassing themselves. They're afraid of being wrong about something. There are countless reasons, but the fact is it's still a limitation. Luckily, that's a limitation that most people will never have to confront. But it's still the kind of negativity that builds up in your life. You're worthless, you're a failure, you can't do any better, you're just an addict, that's all you'll ever be. These things pile up on the person. Now, the second point is to keep in mind that you have to make peace with where these things come from. So, a lot of these negative thoughts are actually learned behaviors. It's something that you pick up as a child. You were told that you can't do that, or that's the best you're ever going to do. And so you pile that up. Well, you've got to make peace with it. That can mean you have to forgive the person who said it or did it to you. Now, forgiveness does not mean you have to tell them. Sometimes you can't. The person might be dead, gone. You might have cut them out of your life and have no way to contact them. You might not want to be in touch with them. For example, in an abusive situation, a lot of times it's best if you never have contact with the abuser again. People develop a submissive position with an abuser, so they slide easily back into the role of the abused. So maybe it's best that you don't ever speak to them again, but you still have to let it go. And the only way you can let something go is to forgive. Hate piles upon unforgiveness. And the hate that piles on there leads to negativity and it leads to destruction. And there's no real way around it. You just have to let it go. Okay? Now, a third thing, the third point that you're going to have to do is that you are going to have to develop positive things to replace the negative. Well, how do you do that? Well, there are a few ways you can do it. I'm going to give you three of the more popular ones. And by popular, I mean the ones that are most effective, not the easiest. One of them is it's a mirror affirmation. You look in the mirror every day, preferably by yourself, and you'll understand why. And you tell yourself that you love you. You look in that mirror and you say, I love me. Look at yourself when you do it. Then you tell yourself in that mirror what you're capable of. I am capable of this. I can do this. I am smart. I am valuable. Tell yourself that. You're going to feel silly. Even by yourself, you are going to feel utterly ridiculous, but you need to do it, and you need to do it every day. A second one is to be mindful and thankful for everything. First thing in the morning, before your feet hit the floor, thank God, thank whomever. Just say, I am grateful for three things. Pick three things in your life that you're grateful for. Everyone can find three things. If you can't find three things, then you're in a real mess and you need to get some professional help. Be mindful as the day goes on of all the positive, all the blessings, all of the wonderful things that life has. You know, say to yourself, wow, this is a beautiful day. Wow, that's a beautiful flower. Wow, that's a friendly person. You know, make yourself aware of everything that's positive. And when you run into something negative, don't dwell on it. Let it go. Get it out of your life. It's gone. It's done. Make peace with it. And move on in a positive way. Now, the third one, and again, this is one that a lot of times people feel silly about, but when you feel the negative building up inside of you, stop and say out loud if possible, no, that's not me. That's not what I am. Give you a great example. When you start thinking, I am a failure, stop yourself. Say, no, I am not a failure. I have not failed until I quit, and I am not going to quit. I am not going to die. I am not going to give up. I am going to overcome this. Every time you feel negative, stop the thought in its tracks and replace it with a positive statement. Yes, you're going to feel ridiculous. I'm sorry, I can't help that. Would you rather feel ridiculous for 2 seconds or the rest of your life being negative? That's up to you. It's your call. Me, I'd rather feel ridiculous for a couple of seconds. That's a better life choice because in the long run, I can change. I can become what I want to be. I can achieve my goals, my hopes, and my dreams if I am willing to do it. Now, another point that I want to bring up to you is that sometimes negative thoughts disguise themselves as positive ones. And they do it subtly. Most of the time it's in the phrase like good enough or just, this is good enough for me. Sometimes it is more overtly negative. This is what I deserve. This is all I can be. This is my limit. You've got to get rid of those too. You've got to be very mindful of them, very aware of them. Good enough is a horrible, horrible, horrible phrase. Good enough says that you don't deserve anything better or anything more. Good enough is accepting limitations that others have placed on you as your own, and you cannot do that to yourself. You have got to get over it. Good enough is not good enough. Now, if you reach a point where you're happy, say, this is where I want to be. This is my spot. It's not good enough for you, it's what you choose to be at. Now, do not let yourself fall into the nostalgia trap. Human beings naturally like the same. We naturally like knowing what's going on. We naturally cling to what we know, the world around us, everything. It's hard for us to change because we're comfortable and we're safe with what we know. Don't let that happen to you. Don't stay the way you are because it is just the way you are and it's easier to do. Nostalgia can be a wonderful thing. Sentimentality can be a wonderful thing, but it's horrible when it limits you. One of the worst, maybe the worst, 6-word phrases in the English language is the way it's always been. It's a horrible phrase. Horrible phrase. It stays like this just because that's the way it's always been. I mean, do you not see how damaging that is? Do you not feel how limiting it is to say that it's got to stay this way just because that's the way it always was? Don't let yourself fall into that nostalgia trap. Do not let that happen to you. Now, another tip, another hint, another bit of helpful advice is to find a spiritual physical connection. Sometimes it's one or the other, sometimes it's both, but find that. A good spiritual connection. If you're a person of faith, work on your prayer. Spend some time in Scripture and study of whatever your faith culture is. If you're not a person of faith, meditation still works great. You just have to make yourself find a system that works for you. Exercise can be a wonderful, wonderful thing. Find something in activity, a hobby that you like to do. Here's the goal. The goal is to find something where you can shut your brain off and just be, just exist. These are wonderful ways to relieve stress. The more stress you feel, the more likely you are to become negative. That's a reality. The less stress you feel, the easier it is to develop these positive thoughts, this positive outlook on life. Now, if you find your spiritual physical connection becoming a source of stress, scrap it, find a new one. This happens a lot with exercise. People want to exercise to lose weight or to get in shape, and then they're not happy with their results, or they feel stress at the gym. So it becomes more stressful to them to exercise. Stop exercising like that. Find another way. The goal is to spend a period of time, hopefully every day, just existing, just being. Let the stress go, and you're going to find yourself being more positive. If you find that your mind turns on and starts with all the negativity, find another activity. The one you're on is not doing the job. Finally, and this one is hard to talk about at all. Sometimes in the end, you are going to have to cut someone out of your life completely. It's a difficult decision to make. It's one that comes with a heavy price. And the choice has to be, is my happiness worth this relationship? Am I doomed to stay the way I am just to hold on to this person? And it's not a choice anyone wants to have to make. Believe me, it's not. Everyone on this earth has someone that they would be better off without. Let me say that again. Everyone on this earth has someone that they would be better off without. Most people have more than one person. A lot of times it's a coworker or a friend who's just a negative, a drain on you. They don't want you to be any better because they don't want anything to be any better. You've got to get rid of them. Sadly, sometimes this could be a family member. And even sadder than that, it can be a close family member. We talk about abusive situations. That's a great example of it. You might have to completely cut all ties with that person in order to change. Now, I don't like to be the one who has to say that. But you know that it's true. And you probably already know who the people are that are too negative, that your life would be better without their influence. I'm not even talking about the abusive types. I just mean the people who are always negative. There's nothing good in this world to them. And they'll couch it. They'll say, oh, I'm just a realist. You're not a realist. I'm just honest. You don't know. No. Realism accepts the possibility of good things happening. Honesty doesn't have to be harsh. Honesty can be done with kindness. More than likely, the person is just a jackass, and you are better off without them. Now, one bright bit of news is sometimes you don't actually have to cut all ties with them. You just have to kind of trim around a little bit. Don't involve them in your plans. Don't tell them your goals. Don't share these things with them. Sometimes you only discover that they're negative people when you do open up to them. If you find someone negative when you open up to them, immediately stop opening up to them. That person is a drain on your ability to grow. You know, in the end, these changes are difficult. Change is always hard. Growth is always hard. But without change, you cannot grow. Without growth, there really is no life. Even your body, just on a physical level, your cells are always changing. New cells are forming as old ones die. Without that growth, there's no life. There's death. You have to keep changing, keep growing. You have to allow yourself the opportunity to reach all of your goals, all of your dreams, everything that you can have in life. You know, people fall into the trap all the time. This is what I deserve. No, it is not what you deserve. You deserve way, way more. You deserve the best opportunities you can get. You deserve the opportunity to make all of your dreams reality. You deserve that. You don't deserve less. Why do I know you deserve it? Because everyone deserves that. So keep that in mind. This change is hard. No one ever said it wouldn't be. But you need it. You need to grow. You need to change. Now, we only have 3 more entries in this series. The next one is going to be a 100% true story of someone who encountered some of these life-changing episodes. A little bit emotional. I don't know. I haven't written it yet, so I just know the story. Then the last 2 episodes of this are going to be on the corporate level. What if the Phoenix is a business or an organization? So the first one of those 2 is going to talk about that. How does it apply to a company? And then the second one is another real-life story of an organization that is going through a Phoenix change. So those 2 are also going to be very interesting. If you think that I can help you, if you want your business to change, if you want your life to change, you can contact me at ralph@ralphharbison.com. If you like these videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and get more of them. As always, visit ralphharbison.com for more blog information on how you can change or your business can change. Thanks a lot and have a nice day.